Did you know that millions of people were exactly where you are right now? In debt, worried, and without hope for a better financial future. But what if I told you they managed to turn things around? By using the power of a simple financial concept that can change your life: compound interest. People like John, who struggled to pay his bills, and Sara, who found herself trapped in personal loans, are now successful investors, accumulating wealth. And the best part? They started from scratch. Want to know how? Stick with me, because I'm going to show you how you too can transform your financial life with compound interest. Many people find themselves in a seemingly endless cycle of debt, where minimum credit card payments and personal loans become a financial prison. Every month, you pay an amount that never seems to be enough, and the feeling of always being on the edge never goes away. This is the reality for millions of people. And the worst part is that compound interest only makes the situation worse. But what few people know is that this same force, which is working against you, can be redirected to work in your favor. And when that happens, financial transformation begins. The first thing to understand is that you don't have to pay everything off at once. The real power of compound interest lies in time. If you focus on reducing the most expensive debt first, like that credit card with a 15% monthly interest rate, you'll soon feel the pressure ease. What seemed impossible to pay off begins to be managed more easily, and your debt balance decreases, allowing you to start thinking about investing instead of just paying. This creates a cycle of financial freedom, where each payment made is no longer a burden, but an opportunity to reinvest your earnings. Now, the big secret is to understand that investments don't have to be large to start generating returns. Investing a small amount consistently, even if it's just $10 a month, starts to generate a cumulative effect. The power of compound interest manifests as these investments grow. The key is consistency. The more you invest, even in a simple way and without great sacrifices, the more your money starts to multiply. And when you realize it, what seemed like a modest amount begins to create a real impact on your financial life. This process is not about getting rich quick. It's not a magic formula to achieve wealth overnight. It's about building a solid financial future where you no longer depend on debt and start accumulating assets. Each small investment, however small, generates more income, which is reinvested and becomes larger, creating a flow of money that starts to work for you, not against you. This cycle is continuous, and with each step taken, it becomes stronger. As you clear the most expensive debts and allocate what would be spent on interest to smart investments, a new reality begins to emerge. You are no longer trapped by a lack of control over your money. Now, you own your financial journey, and confidence in your ability to handle numbers grows exponentially. And when that confidence joins the power of compound interest, the results begin to multiply, like a positive avalanche. But remember, success here doesn't depend on large initial amounts. Don't wait to have millions to start. The essential thing is the habit of investing. If you put small amounts every month, this discipline becomes the driving force that will take you to a prosperous future. The constant flow of new investments creates a cycle that never stops spinning. As your account grows, more opportunities open up, and the faster you can escape the dependence on loans and debts, creating a safety net that will allow you to thrive. Now, one of the biggest advantages of compound interest is that it doesn't discriminate against those who are starting small. It's democratic. It works the same way for anyone, whether you are rich or in debt. With discipline and patience, those who start from scratch can, over time, transform that small base into a real fortune. This is the power you have in your hands. Every small step taken on the path to financial freedom will be reflected in more growth, more earnings, and more opportunities. The key here is that you should never stop learning and applying this knowledge. Financial education is not a destination, but a continuous journey. Each new debt payment strategy, each new investment, each adjustment you make to your financial habits will create a circle of growth that feeds on itself. You are no longer trapped, but on a path of constant evolution. And what seems like a modest start over time will take you to a level of prosperity that you never imagined possible. When the feeling of being mired in debt begins to weigh heavily, the last thing most people think about is investing. What many don't realize is that investment can be the key to reversing this situation, starting with a simple step. The idea that I don't have money to invest is a fallacy. Investing is, in fact, the most effective way to break the cycle of debt and transform your financial life. The first thing you need to understand is that investing doesn't mean risking large sums of money. You don't need to have thousands of dollars to start. The basis of any successful investment is a regular and consistent commitment. Small investments, like $10 or $20 a month, may seem insignificant at first, but as time goes by, you begin to see the multiplier effect of compound interest. And every time you reinvest your earnings, this effect intensifies, creating a growth cycle that only tends to accelerate. Investing simply and effectively is not about looking for the lucky strike or the magic formula. It's about consistency. When you put a small amount in an investment fund, for example, and let that money grow over time, you are taking advantage of the power of compound interest to generate more wealth. Over time, the returns on these investments begin to be more significant, and your financial situation begins to change. More importantly, you begin to see your money working for you and not the other way around. In addition, as you invest, you will learn more about the market, about investment options, and about what works best for your profile. This creates continuous financial education, which not only improves your relationship with money, but also puts you in a position of control. With this knowledge, you begin to make smarter financial decisions, optimizing your investments and accelerating your path to financial freedom. And the best part is that you can start small, but with a clear strategy. Always reinvest the income and not spend the profits. By doing this, you create a cycle of exponential growth, where the money you invest generates more money, and every time you apply more, the more it grows. This cycle is the heart of compound interest, and that's how small amounts can turn into large sums. When you start to create this flow of investments, you also start to create a new financial mindset. The difference between those who are trapped in debt and those who become investors is exactly that. The mindset of starting small, but with a constant plan. It doesn't matter where you are now. What matters is where you want to be, and compound interest can be the tool that takes you there. The best part is that investments don't have to be complicated. There are many accessible and low-risk options for beginners, such as index funds or shares of established companies. As you gain experience, you can diversify your investments and look for options with a slightly higher return, but always with caution. The important thing is to start and maintain discipline, as time is the greatest ally of investors who know how to use compound interest. And as you see your investments growing, a sense of security begins to form. Now, instead of worrying about the debts that once seemed endless, you begin to focus on the future. Your financial vision begins to change. And with that, the steps that once seemed uncertain now become firmer. The cycle of continuous growth begins, and with it, a new financial trajectory, where freedom becomes an increasingly palpable reality. Sometimes, the biggest barrier to achieving financial freedom is not in the great difficulties or in the gigantic debts, but in the lack of vision about the power of small steps. Many people feel demotivated because they believe that, in order to achieve financial stability, they need to start with large amounts or make enormous sacrifices. The truth, however, is that consistent small steps are often the best way to transform your financial reality. Every dollar you invest, even if it seems insignificant, has the potential to turn into something much bigger over time. The secret lies in the effect of compound interest. When you start with a modest amount and reinvest it constantly, it starts to grow exponentially. The magic of compound interest is that the longer your money stays invested, the more it multiplies, creating a financial snowball. And this snowball starts to grow rapidly when you add a little more each month. Don't be fooled into thinking that only large sums matter. What really matters is the commitment to invest regularly, even if it's a small amount. Over time, these small investments create a solid foundation for the future. Each month that you put an amount in your investment fund, you are building an asset that can change your life. This creates a positive cycle of continuous growth, where each new amount invested accelerates the process. The debt release process also follows this same logic. Start with the highest debt. Pay it off with the resources that would be used to pay high interest, and when that is done, reinvest those resources in something that generates income, such as a low-risk fund or a savings account with compound interest income. With each debt eliminated, more space you create for your money to work in your favor. This creates a feeling of constant progress, where you not only eliminate debts, but begin to see the gains from your investments grow. As you begin to invest consistently, the important thing is not to stop. The effect of compound. Interest is not something that happens overnight, but every day, every month, your investment will multiply. The key is persistence. The power of time cannot be underestimated. If you invest regularly, even if the amounts are low at the beginning, you will create a solid base that will expand as time passes. This process is a virtuous circle. Money begins to generate more money, creating a source of passive income that you can use to achieve your financial goals. But success is not just about investing. It is also about creating an emergency fund. If you have a financial reserve, you can avoid falling into urgent and emergency debts in the future. This fund creates a safety net, allowing you to take advantage of financial opportunities without having to resort to loans or credit cards, which usually have high compound interest. The focus here is to build security for your family and for your future, while compound interest begins to do the job of multiplying your assets. The most important thing is not to give up, even when progress seems slow. When you invest, even if at first the results seem small, the effect of compound interest will accumulate. Over time, these small investments will turn into large amounts, and you will see how much your effort, although simple, was essential to ensure your financial freedom. The growth process never stops. It only accelerates. Each step you take towards financial freedom is a step in building a solid foundation for your future. And remember, what you do today will be reflected in the coming years. The power of small steps, when done consistently, is undeniable. You are not just creating a financial reserve, you are creating a future where compound interest works for you uninterruptedly and increasingly. Now that you understand the true power of compound interest, the question is, will you continue to be trapped in debt, or will you start using this power in your favor? The path to financial freedom is not easy, but the good news is that it starts with a simple step. Start now. It doesn't matter how much you have today, but how much you are willing to act and invest in your future. Compound interest can be your greatest tool in building wealth, but it only works when you make the decision to be disciplined and consistent. Remember that, with patience and dedication, even the smallest investments can turn into something great. You have the power to change your financial trajectory. Just take the first step. If you are ready to transform your financial life and learn more about how compound interest can work in your favor, subscribe to our channel. Here, we will teach you to understand finances, eliminate debts, and, most importantly, make your money grow. Don't leave for tomorrow what you can start today. Click on the subscribe button, activate the bell to receive notifications, and let's transform your financial future together.